Good morning, my dear students. Good morning, one and all. Welcome to the first session of the course. The topic name is Objects and Buckets. Upload, download, copy, and delete. We need to discuss now. S3 is Amazon's a simple storage service offering industry-leading scalability, data availability, security, and performance. Whether it's data lakes and websites, mobile apps, backup and restore, archives, enterprise applications, IoT devices, and big data analytics, Amazon S3 can store and protect any amount of data. You know, the Amazon S3 platform provides management and features so you can just optimize, organize, and configure data access to fit your business, organization, and compliance needs. Okay, what's the deal with Amazon S3 we need to discuss now? In Amazon S3, you organize, store, and retrieve data using buckets and objects. Because S3 environments are flat and users create a buckets which store objects in the cloud mode. What about Amazon S3 objects? Documents, photos, and videos are all objects in Amazon S3. Within the S3 environment, each object has a unique key that distinguishes it from others. There are lots of AWS tools that can help you upload files bigger than 160 GB, but the maximum file size is 100 GB. So what about Amazon S3 buckets we need to concentrate? AWS cloud accounts allow you to create 100 buckets with no limit on the number of objects you can store. Submit a service limit increase if you need more buckets. You can choose which AWS region to store a bucket in when you create it. Select a region that's closest to you to maximize cost and address latency concerns. Unless you move files, objects in a bucket within a region stay there. You should also know that Amazon S3 buckets are globally unique. Your bucket names can't be used by another AWS account in the same region unless you delete your own. Okay, what about the S3 console for Amazon? It's easy to manage objects and buckets in Amazon S3 console in AWS management. You can interact with the AWS using the console's intuitive user interface because objects can be uploaded, downloaded, and managed here, as well as buckets too. You can organize the storage using prefixes and delimiters to create a logical hierarchy. Because every Amazon S3 object can be uniquely addressed through the combination of the web service endpoint, bucket name, key, and optionally, the version of forming a folder structure within the console here. In the management console, you can set access permissions for every bucket and object. Okay, how does Amazon S3 work now? S3 is a great choice if you want a secure storage that's easy and robust. Amazon built this tool with just a few features, but it's a really good. Here are a few to get you started now. The first one is the scalability. Many storage companies offer predetermined amounts of storage and bandwidth, like some cell phone and cable companies. Even if you don't use all your capacity, you will pay a flat rate. Overage fees may apply if you go over your limit, and service might be suspended until the next billing cycle. So you only pay for what you use with Amazon S3. It's easy to scale storage resources up and down so you can keep up with your organization's ever-changing needs. No hidden fees or overages here. The durability and accessibility of the product next we need to discuss now. As AWS says, Amazon S3 is designed to last 99% level. It means storing data for millions of applications for companies all over the world. It automatically creates and stores your S3 objects across multiple systems, so you have access to your data whenever you need it. What about the keeping things organized at a low cost? Depending on how often and how urgently you need it to access your files, you can store your data in different storage classes in Amazon S3. A storage class can be the most expensive if you need immediate access to mission critical files, or it can be the cheapest if you need a long-term access to regulatory files. AWS lets you monitor your objects to see if they need to be moved to a cheaper storage class because S3 intelligent tiering. For instance, most data from higher period storage classes to lower ones based on your access patterns. What about the versioning system we need to concentrate? Versioning is a setting that lets multiple variants of a file or object exist in the same bucket. If you delete something, you can roll it back or recover it. So what about the powerful security system we need to discuss now? The data you store in your AWS S3 environment is protected with the encryption and access management tools. You can do this at the bucket and account level. So all public access to your object is blocked now. So S3 buckets and objects that your organization create are the only ones user can access. It's easy to change and customize access permissions with AWS security management. In addition to deleting an object version or changing the bucket version state, multi-factor authentication can also be used now. Besides that, AWS offers tools that help you find and fix any discrepancies with the bucket access policies that might allow the unauthorized access mode. Okay, what about the rules for naming buckets? We need to discuss now, and we will discuss the later information on the second lecture. So rules for naming buckets means in Amazon S3, bucket names must follow these rules. You can name your bucket between 3 and 63 characters, and only lowercase letters, numbers, dots, and hyphens are allowed in bucket names. There must be a letter or number at the beginning and end of the bucket name, and you can't have two periods in the same bucket name. You can't use the IP addresses in bucket names like 192.168.6.2. There is no prefix like x and -hyphen in bucket names, and there should be no suffix like -s3 alias at the end of the bucket names. Access point aliases use this suffix now. There should be no suffix like -ol-s3 at the end of bucket names. The suffix is reserved for object lambda access point aliases. There must be a unique bucket name for each AWS account in each AWS region within a partition, because regions are divided into partitions. The current AWS partitions are AWS like standard regions, and according to the China regions will be on AWS-CN, and government cloud of US will be on AWS-US-government GOV. So until a bucket is deleted, another AWS account can't use the same. There can't be dots in bucket names when using Amazon S3 transfer acceleration process. For best compatibility, avoid using dots in bucket names unless you are hosting a static website here. You can't use a virtual host style addressing over HTTPS if a bucket's name includes dots unless you validate the certificates yourself, because buckets named with the dots don't work with the security certificates for virtual hosting method. And final rule will be on static website hosting doesn't suffer from this limitation since it's done over HTTP only, like a hypertext transfer protocol. Okay, the next will be on here are some bucket names we have to maintain. Here are some valid bucket names that follow the recommended naming guidelines. Document example bucket 1, log-deliver-march-2020, my-hosted-current. So this is a sample, okay, and you can use these bucket names for other stuff, but we don't recommend it. You just understand the concept of documentexamplewebsite.com, www.documentexamplewebsite.com, and my.example.s3.bucket. But below are some examples of bad bucket names. Contains underscores like a document -example -bucket, contains uppercase letters, and a document example bucket. You can just check it out, the D, E, and B, and ends with the hyphen like document -example -bucket -. Okay, so what about the bucket creation we need to discuss for the Amazon S3 mode? Create an Amazon S3 bucket in an AWS region before you upload your data. The bucket name and region must be chosen when you create it, because the bucket can also be managed in other ways. A bucket's name or region can't be changed after it's created. The bucket belongs to the AWS account that created it. There is no limit to how many objects you can upload. You can create up to 100 buckets per AWS account by default. Adding more buckets to your account is easy. Just to submit a service limit increase request to get more buckets. So S3 object ownership is an Amazon S3 bucket level setting that lets you take ownership of all objects in your bucket and disable access control list. because AWS accounts own objects uploaded to Amazon S3 buckets by default. So the account that uploads the object and it has access to it and can grant other users access through the ACLs like access control list. And object ownership can be changed when you create a bucket so that ACLs like access through the ACLs are disabled and the bucket owner automatically owns every object in the bucket. It means your data access is governed by policies. So every bucket in Amazon S3 is encrypted with a server-side encryption with Amazon S3 managed keys. The shortcode is SSE-S3 because new objects uploaded to S3 buckets are automatically encrypted using SSE-S3 as the base encryption level. AWS key management services that keys like SSE-KMS or customer provided keys like SSE-C can be used to encrypt your data if you want a different type of encryption mode. If your Amazon S3 bucket is empty now, okay, you can delete it. Here's what you need to know before you delete one. We need to discuss now. Names of buckets are unique. Understand? The name of a bucket can be used by another AWS user if you delete it. You will have to clean up the settings for the bucket's root 53 hosted zone if it's host a static website. As described in configuring a static website using a custom domain registered with the root 53, you just understand the step of process and delete the root 53 hosted zones for more information level. You should stop your ELB logs from being sent to the bucket before deleting it. If it gets logs from elastic load balancing, the shortcode is ELB, you could potentially end up with your log data in another user's bucket if they create one with the same name after you delete your bucket there. Okay, the next one is we need to discuss about that. You may be able to delete an Amazon S3 bucket if you do the following process. What are the steps we need to identify? Make sure the bucket is empty. It means you can only delete buckets without objects. Empty your bucket now. Make sure there aren't any access points attached. You can only delete buckets that don't have access points here, but before deleting the bucket, delete any access point it has. What about the S3 process? It means delete bucket permissions. Confirm you have a S3 like a delete bucket permissions with your IAM administrator process. The bucket policy might include a Dennis statement for S3. So delete bucket if you don't have a S3. Delete bucket permission in your IAM policy. The default policy for buckets created by Elastic Beanstalk contains this statement. The bucket policy or the statement must be deleted before the bucket can be deleted here. Here's an overview of Amazon S3 objects we need to concentrate. Objects can be stored in Amazon S3 using unique key values. These objects can be stored in buckets and each of which can hold up to 5 TB. The following are the parts of an object. The number one will be the key we need to discuss now. It's a name you give an object, and retrieving an object is easy with object key. Second will be on ID of the version, because a keys and versions ID uniquely identify objects within the buckets, because Amazon S3 generates the version ID when you add an object. Next will be on value. It's the content you are storing here, and any sequence of bytes can be an object value. A single object can be as big as a 5 TB process. And what about the information about metadata? This is a set of name value pairs that hold information about an object. Objects in Amazon S3 can have a metadata process called user defined metadata. These objects also get the system metadata, of which Amazon S3 uses for managing them. What about a few sub-resources we need to discuss? Sub-resources are used by Amazon S3 to store object-specific information. Objects are subordinated to sub-resources, so they are always associated with objects or buckets. Next will be on information and access control. Objects you store in Amazon S3 can be controlled here. User-based access control and resource-based access control are both supported by Amazon S3. Understand? By default, Amazon S3 resources like buckets and objects are private mode. Other people can't access these resources unless you explicitly grant them permissions. Okay, the next one is we need to discuss about the concept of using multi-path uploads to upload and copy objects. Uploading multiple parts of the single object is very easy. An object's data is divided into contiguous parts. Each part of the object can be uploaded independently. In case a part fails to transmit, you can retransmit it without affecting other parts. The object is created by Amazon S3 after all the parts are uploaded here. And the multi-part uploads are better than single uploads when your object size hits 100 MB. Okay, the next we need to understand about the concept of here's why you should use the multi-part upload level. We need to discuss one by one. Number one will be on improved throughput. It means you can upload parts is a parallel mode, and a smaller part size means you can restart and upload if it fails due to a network error faster. And next will be on uploads can be paused and resumed level. It means you can upload parts over time. A multi-part upload doesn't expire after it's started. You have to explicitly finish it or stop it. And you can upload an object while you are creating it. It means you can just start your uploading process before you know the final size. And you can use the multi-part upload in the following ways. You can use the multi-part upload to maximize bandwidth by uploading parts of the object in parallel for multi-threaded performance if you are uploading large objects. So use multi-part upload if your network is spotty to avoid upload restarts if you are uploading over a bad connection. You have to retry your uploading process only the parts that were interrupted during the upload when using multi-part upload level. You don't have to start from scratch when you upload your object level. Okay, the next one is we need to discuss about that process for uploading multiple parts. An upload with multiple parts is a three-step process. You start it, you upload the parts, and after you have uploaded all the parts, you just finish it. Enough that. So the Amazon S3 builds the objects from the uploaded parts upon receiving your complete multi-part upload request, and you can access it like any other bucket object. You can see all your in progress multi-part uploads or see what parts you have uploaded for a specific multi-part upload level. Here's a breakdown of each operation I would like to explain now. The number one will be on, we need to talk about that getting started with the multi-part uploads. Amazon S3 sends you an upload ID when you request a multi-part upload. It's a unique identifier you can use to identify your multi-part upload process. If you upload parts, list them and finish an upload or stop an upload, you must include this upload ID. In order to initiate multi-part upload, you have to provide any metadata describing what you are uploading. So next will be on, you can upload parts here. A part number must be added to the upload ID when you upload a part. There are 10,000 part numbers you can choose from. You upload an object that has a part number that uniquely identifies the part. You don't have to pick consecutive part numbers, for example 1, 5 and 14. A previously uploaded part will be overwritten if you upload a new part with the same part number. And Amazon S3 returns an entity tag like E tag, we can say, that header when you upload a part. Each part upload needs an E tag and a part number. In order to complete the multi-part upload, you must include these values. We need to discuss the process. Stopping a multi-part upload. Next we need to discuss now. Multi-part uploads start when you initiate them, because Amazon S3 stores the part but it creates the object from them only after you upload all of them and confirm your request for the multi-part upload was successful. As soon as Amazon S3 gets the complete multi-part upload request, it assembles everything and creates an object. A multi-part upload request that doesn't include all parts won't be assembled by Amazon S3. You are charged for all storage associated with uploaded parts. Basically, you either have to finish the multi-part upload to get the object created or stop it to remove the parts. Multi-part uploads in Amazon S3 can be stopped using the AWS command line interface like AWS CLI and REST API or AWS SDKs. Using a bucket lifecycle configuration, you can also stop incomplete multi-part uploads. So what about the Amazon S3 object deletion? We need to discuss for the final process. Amazon S3 lets you delete individual objects directly from the console. AWS SDKs, the AWS command line interface or REST API. Since all objects in your S3 bucket incurs your storage cost, you should delete any objects you don't need anymore. For instance, if you are collecting log files, you should delete them when they are no longer needed. Understand? That's why the lifecycle routes can delete objects like logs automatically. Okay, when deleting an object, you have got this API option. This is a final, you have to understand the concept. You can delete one object in a single HTTP request with Amazon S3's a delete API operation. It means a delete object. And multi-object delete, it means that API lets you delete up to 1000 objects in one HTTP request. The object key name is all you need to delete objects from a bucket that isn't versioned. To delete a specific version of an object, you can optionally provide the version ID of the object when deleting an object from a version enabled bucket. Understand? That is a process we have to understand about the level of when deleting an object. You have got these API options. Okay, my dear students, I hope you have understand the first session of the concept like objects and buckets, upload, download